I wish they could.
Yeah,
I had some
call this
of them.
long way from those old. Remember those old
Just so everyone is aware, Chambers is unmuted and we are live on YouTube.
Chris, did you get that?
Okay, good. I wish we could get all the sites at the Fairhaven State Park electric. I want people to hear that.
Nicely done. Oh, that is just.
Well, it would increase the number. I mean, they're full now, but they could extend their choice and start it sooner and extend it later.
Jimmy, your devotion to your craft is exceptional.
Duly noted. No reason not to. Instead of an Earth Day, we should have a trench digging day for electrical.
Sees Aileen on. She said she was going to be there. She is.
He is there.
Heidi. Is Lydia good? Maybe she's iPhone.
I even heard from Lydia.
And Hans.
Lydia has asked to be excused.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And Bob is here as well. So I think it's time. So I'll ask to do the pledge. And after the pledge, I'd ask for a moment of silence for former Assemblyman Gary Finch. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. This time I'll entertain a motion for the minutes. Motion and a second. Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, I spoke with Mr. Camardo today. They have submitted their reports. If there's any questions, we can forward them to them. Any questions regarding the information provided? Okay, hearing none. Move over to Amanda is on, I believe, because Sheila couldn't make it. So Amanda, I know you have a couple resolutions.
Yes, we do have resolutions. They are primarily just policy resolutions, so the people can speak to them. Although the public information officer is going to be Shireen, so I don't believe she is available, but the county policy for the resolution process we have, and me, Sheila, Shireen worked on that, kind of went through it and tried to just make some minor changes and also make it more fluid. So hopefully it's more understandable, but we shall see. We're also going to present to the department head at the department head meeting the day after the ledge meeting to kind of go over the resolution process to hopefully kind of get everyone on the same page.
Thank you, Amanda. And I also, when we get into the county attorney, I think that Mr. Westfeld will take us a little further in depth regarding those. So
Absolutely.
Unless there's any, yes, sir.
On the resolution process, and this might be a question for Amanda or for attorney, is if they're going to go over this with the managers, supervisors, do we want to wait on that in case there's other comments that may be critical to?
Well, it has to go through the resolution process. And also, I think why don't you hold that thought, and after Fred explains what has changed and what we're attempting to accomplish with it, I think it might shed a little more light. Is
I
that
want to approve a policy that.
understood? So before they can digest it.
Before they can digest and have input, unless that's already been done.
I can tell you what the changes are. They're not monumental. A lot of them are housekeeping, so
Okay.
I'm prepared to address it.
So don't bring to get into the weeds here.
Well, you might as well go for it, unless there's any updates regarding, is Chris gonna do that, or are you
I
gonna?
can do a quick update on sales tax if you like.
Okay, so,
This is a time of year when the 1% sales tax extension requested through the state, Senate and Assembly by way of home rule legislation. Senator May and Assemblyperson Minority Leader Barclay have both introduced legislation. We're hopeful that it'll pass probably mid-June, Then it goes on to the governor's desk. When it's presented to the governor, she has about 10 days plus or minus Sundays to sign it. So just wanted to let you know that process is moving forward. If you see Senator May or Assemblyman Barclay, please tell them thank you, because their offices have been a big help through this process. Because it's always a timing issue, working with the state bill drafting people, getting it onto the agenda. So they've done a lot of work for us. So that's the only report I have.
Okay, go ahead.
Fred, could you just explain a little more about what that means, the 1% sales tax extension?
Yes, the sales tax in Cayuga County is 3%. Every couple years, the county has to apply to the state to extend that 1% sales tax. And that's sales tax outside of the city, obviously. And it's a process that has been going on for a long time. There have been requests to the Assembly and the Senate to make that extension permanent. They have chosen not to do that. There was an attempt again this year that did not end up in the budget. So we are always very sensitive to the timing of that 1% because it expires November 30th of this year. So we want to make sure it gets passed on the governor's desk and signed. So we'll continue to collect that extra 1%.
Is it all counties in the same boat that want to go beyond 3% have to do this annual?
That's correct. There might be different cycles. We're on the cycle that comes due this year. And it's typically waits to the end of session. I'm not sure all the reasons why, but it typically goes at the end of session. Sometimes it's even the last day, which is what, mid-June or so. So we wait anxiously for its passage. Sure.
All right, any further questions regarding the update? Okay, hearing none. Fred, I think we'll just take the two ones for the clerk of the legislature. So we'll go with, so how about let's start with GO1, which is adopting the Cayuga County policy for the public information officer. So I get a motion and a second for discussion.
Move it.
Motion?
Second.
Oh, we have motion and a second. So discussion.
So this is a new policy establishing the public information officer. This proposed policy authorizes the chair of the legislature or his or her designee to be the public information officer. That is the individual who, as set forth in the policy, basically is the main source of contact between the media and the county. This does not cover elected officials such as yourself, the DA, and other elected officials. Does not cover the clerk. The responsibilities are listed in the policy. And that's.
I think also, wasn't it part of a work group that put this together? As Amanda mentioned, amending these policies, or is that specifically just GO2?
It applies to this one as well.
Okay, thank you.
Usually the policies are reviewed by some type of work group, and this was one. This was one of those.
Very good. Any questions regarding GO1? Hearing none. Oh, I do hear one.
Yeah, is there anything prompting this in terms of requirements, regulations, or is this just something we're choosing to do to designate public information officer?
Kind of both. Years ago, the chair was a public information officer. That changed when we had, an administrator and manager. So this is also an attempt to plug that gap, if you will, to establish so that everybody knows who the interface is with the media.
Has there been any consideration for the amount of time required for this role and Shireen's existing responsibilities? I know we put a lot on her. She's kind of doing a lot of different things. Has there been any discussion with her about this and consideration of the amount of time for this role?
Wouldn't that be a question for the chair, as doesn't she work specifically for the chair? Correct?
That's correct. But she was part of the work group.
Okay.
She's aware of the duties and has agreed. Should the chair assign that duty to her?
Okay.
It's either the chair or the designee.
Okay. I guess I would I always felt there was an opportunity to have real communications officer for this county at some point, that we're being more proactive versus reactive to getting the word out about the service we provide and what we do and championing the county for all sorts of reasons. But this is a start for that, to designate somebody in that role. But I think that this is something that could grow over time potentially. And Shireen is stretched pretty thin from conversations I've had with her in the last couple of months. So
She isn't, and the budget process will start to be renewed fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So it might be a good time to bring that up. Any other questions?
Chris, I have a question or a statement.
Sure.
Trish, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to echo your same comments. We were very reactive in the fact that we didn't have a PIO and then the pandemic came. So I'm glad that we're formalizing something, but I do think in the future we need to bolster that position and really look at being proactive with our communications across the board, not just in case of emergencies. But I thank you to the chair for getting this going.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
I
Opposed? Okay, GO2, amending the Cayuga County policy for the resolution process. I did get some questions regarding this, and I did touch base with Fred regarding this. So I think he can explain this, what prompted this as well, and what we're hoping to achieve through GO2.
Did you want to have this moved?
Thank you.
Question?
Yes. Motion and a second.
Second.
Thank you.
So primarily, this is, a lot of this is housekeeping. You'll see that on page 1, the 14 days is bolded. That's to remind all the department heads and whoever puts together resolutions that the resolutions need to be sent to the resolution list served 14 days prior to the oversight committee meeting. On the second page, they highlighted some language about late resolutions requiring the consent of the committee chair. And that when those resolutions are sent to the listserv, we need to know that the committee chair has approved that and that they are a late resolution, because there's a long process that has to go through. Recall that it has to go through, HR gets a look at it, the budget officer gets a look at it, the purchasing officer is going to get a look at it, legal is going to get a look at it. So the later they arrive through that process, the more of a rush it is to get those done. So we always like more time rather than less time to make sure that we can get the resolutions as accurate as possible. On the third page, there was an update on the format of the types of resolutions that we're looking for. And on the last page, there were some edits to the title prefixes. There was a committee that got together that looked at this. It's looked at on a periodic basis. Mr. Bunn is working with the resolution group to come up with an IT solution to make this work a little bit more fluid. So you should expect soon or in the near future, looking at Tom over there, to come up with a solution. I don't know if we're going to try it on a small basis first or not, but we are moving that forward, trying to make it a little bit more smooth, run a little bit more smoothly.
Okay, questions, discussion? Yes, Heidi.
I just have a clarifying question. We've known about the resolutions committee and those committee members that review resolutions are listed here. I don't understand whether there's actually a committee meeting of all of those individuals or if it's bouncing around digitally from person to person. I've actually never understood that.
It bounces around digitally from person to person. And that's sometimes the challenge, if you will, because we all have to be focused on that when the resolution cycle starts and it seems to run every day.
Right.
Yep. Other questions? Sorry.
You got it. You can take it away if
I
you
can
want.
take it away. Thank you.
Go ahead, yeah.
Can you speak to who was on the committee to look at this resolution and propose these recommended changes?
Let me see if I knew I should have looked at every member, and I'm gonna miss somebody. Mr. Bunn's on it. Ms. Androsco's on it. Ms. Marinelli's on it. Diane Ferris is on it. Me. It's actually number 2 on the policy, so I will read for the policy. Thank you. The chair of the legislature, county attorney's office, chair, clerk of the legislature, HR, finance, purchasing, operations officer, and budget director.
Has there been any discussions with department heads outside of those mentioned on the committee about the resolution process and soliciting feedback on these proposed changes to legislator Basile's initial comments about this?
The typical practice has been when there are substantial changes made, other than bolding stuff, then that did not go to department heads. When there are substantial changes, it is brought to the department head meeting to get their input as well. Then it usually migrates to the committee.
Trish, didn't Amanda say in the beginning that they were going to meet with the department heads at the end of this month, I think?
After we vote on this,
Gotcha.
personally, I am not comfortable voting on even minors. Insignificant changes. I think this should be discussed first with department heads, get their feedback, and then come back with whether they're truly significant changes or more substantive changes to this process, so that we're only having to look at it once and make changes once. That authorization to fill form for position changes, I've always thought that was extremely clunky. I don't know if there's a way to streamline or simplify that. Even from a legislative standpoint, looking at it and trying to decipher the actual most pertinent information about the positions. Regarding titles and naming conventions, I think we should be looking at that with positions so that there's standard procedure when we're looking at a resolution. We know if a position that's being requested for funding, whether it's budgeted, vacant, so we don't have to dig through the resolution to find that information, or so that some department heads put it in there and some don't. I just think it's premature for me. I'd rather see a more comprehensive approach to it. So I'm not comfortable voting for the changes, even as minor as they may be.
Understood.
So if I could just respond to that, then I'll get to you, Heidi. I think, and I appreciate what you're saying, but I also think that it's my experience anyway, that this is part of an ongoing process and we're constantly looking at these. And also what we want to do is accomplish sort of accept the level of pressure that's put on the county attorney's office when they need to process legislation very quickly. So I think to bring this forward and address these issues at this time is a good thing. And we certainly can look at what you're talking about as well. So I just wanted to comment on that. Heidi?
Like, if I understood the corrections in the presentation of the revised policy, the things that are bolded are the things that have changed. And I don't see any changes in that area.
No, that's not my understanding. And again,
We've been doing it. This has been the way of doing business that the department heads been familiar with for as long as I've been a legislator.
If I could, I would say that yes, those are the same things. Really, it's formatting change more than anything. And to Trish's point as well, the authorization to fill form, we are looking at completely revamping that and making it easier for Diane to approve those, and also taking out a lot of the other parts and elements that are not necessary in that form.
Mr. Chair.
Chris, the biggest problem we're having with that is the time. A lot of the department heads, they know they got to get them in 2 weeks ahead of time. I know some things come up after that, but if this committee can get them 2 weeks ahead of time and they have questions from those department heads, it'll go by smooth. So we really need the department heads, and we'll bring this up at the department head meeting next week or 2 weeks to let them know again. It's been sent out before, but we really need to get those in 2 weeks ahead of time. Then all those people involved in it can check it, look at it, and double check it. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Further discussion? I'm hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, one opposed, carried. So we will move on to anything further from the county attorney's office?
I think there's 2 opposed.
Chris, you opposed?
I think Aileen did.
Oh, Aileen?
No.
No, just one, I think. I did.
This one.
Trish.
Oh, there was-
Amanda,
I was
did you
in-
get that?
I was
Just-
in favor.
No, I just had Kerr as opposed.
Okay,
All right, thank you. So nothing further from Chris or you? Good, okay. So I think we can move on now to Tom.
Good evening. You have my report. The only thing that I did want to add to the county website rebrand piece that I included was that we are currently working with our website vendor to not only update some of the rebrand of the entire county website, but also work hand in hand with the department heads to kind of refresh some of the content and improve some of the navigation and make the website a little bit easier to find and move around it, if you will. So we're in the very early planning stages with that, but we're going to be making some good progress over the next few months. So I wanted to bring that forward.
Okay,
That's all I have for my report.
questions on the report before we move on to your resolution? No questions on the report? Okay. Oh, go for it.
I guess I'll just ask, since we're looking at rebranding, that means to me, changing our image, what we stand for, what our core values are as a county and a community, coming up with an identity for the county. Is that process, what does that process look like?
So that process, if we're looking at that larger process, that's something we should probably involve with a committee and bring in some county leadership and things like that. Again, I'm in the very early planning stages with this, but
Okay.
just started the discussions with Civic Plus, who is our vendor. And as soon as I have more information, we're going to start building this out.
Great.
But yes.
And then just a follow-up to that, has there been any consideration for county social media presence versus individual department social media pages?
That's a great question. Actually, we actually brought this up at, I think, our last department head meeting. There was a lot of discussion around that and how we would try to fill that void. We actually brought that forward, that there should be one centralized person for that. And I hear what you're saying in terms of communication.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to kind of push for that. I do agree that it should be.
Further questions about the report? Okay, so we have GO3 at this time. I'd ask for a motion. It's adopting the Q County's device encryption policy.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so if you'd like to,
So this policy was kind of brought forward as a result of the OCS IT audit that we went through approximately, it was about 8 months ago now. One of the requirements or the findings of the audit kind of asked us to put together an official device encryption policy. So while it was found within the IT department that we had procedures around just about all of this, we didn't have a formal policy. So that kind of ties all this information all together in one document, if you will. So it's quite complex. I did provide you some information that kind of, takes a lot of the non-technical stuff out and clarifies as best as possible. But if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
let's just start. I'll start with you. Do you have questions? No?
No, I just
Okay,
glad to see this.
any questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir. Sue?
I have a couple of updates. I'm actually going to have people, some colleagues from different counties come here. And they wanted to take a tour of the prison to see how license plates are made. So that whole committee's coming, the state committee and some state officials as well. We had the state commissioner for DMV come over to Cayuga County and visit us because he was very proud of our job we do with organ donation. He was more enthralled with Tom Bunn's all of these things. And here he came in, he goes, whoa, what's this? And he told his staff to take pictures of it. This is exactly what he wanted and everything else. So that's kind of funny. But we were one of the top counties in the entire state, and we did a great job. And in addition to that, we did a fundraiser this year for the state, New York State organ donor, because they are a not-for-profit. And we collected bottles and cans, and we partnered with Bag of Nickels, and we were a little under 100. And so they made that an even 100, gave us a check so we can send it off to Donate Life. So that was a really nice partnership. And I want to thank that local business for doing that with us. We're getting busy on DMV. Anybody who's been there and seen it, it feels good. The county historian's office has been doing a lot of research and lots of other things, but they've provided assistance in researching details of the original construction of the current county office building for the County Buildings Committee. We tracked down and provided statistics for polio cases and deaths between 1945 and 65 for the health department. And Nancy Esman, who has been here 30 plus years, works for the historian's office part-time. She is going to retire, but she's continues to do research. She identified and scanned 18 photos and illustrations of Hoops Park and offered to answer a request from the Hoops Park administrator for photos to be used in the park's renovated clubhouse. Our county historian attended the H3C. It's one of the big groups with everybody in it for the historians, the annual banquet of the Cayuga and Owasco Lake Historic Society. We aided researchers gathering the history of the Wells College golf course. I am sure if you're reading the papers, you can imagine why. That they were celebrating their centennial in 2023. Our help included deed research and photo researches. We helped determine where a fountain was installed in Auburn near City Hall for a local researcher investigating suffrage activism. And so we were really busy at the historian's office. Again, I've been meeting with CETA and they came up with these nice graphics. So when somebody comes in to apply for a new business DBA, they have them. They're a lot more colorful and, you know, I think they're a new and fresh idea and I really like them and I think it's really good. And speaking of which, we've been doing a ton of new DBAs. So we're getting really busy in the recording office. I was a little worried about last month's numbers, not our mortgage tax numbers, because we have $40 million, 3 mortgages, but the amount of real property that was reported, but it's really gone up and I'm having hope that the economy is going up a little bit. We're doing a ton of passports and it brings in a lot of money. We do get money for not just new passports, when people come in, get a photo and we help them out with the renewal while we can't process them. We do help people and they're very appreciative of it. The Dreams project is moving along. We're staging load 6 and that's really good. We just keep going at our records. They're at this point still the phase 1, which is all county clerk records. So that's moving along. We had a little thing with our contracts, but I think that moved forward. Thank you, Fred. And Michael McNeil, the county records administrator, wrote a federal grant for $2 million and that was submitted and we got a confirmation that that is submitted. And so hopefully we can take $2 million and not use the ARPA money for that. So that would be a big offset. And I think that's about it. And I have just, I wanted to let you know, because I think the last time I didn't say when I wanted to kind of change what our staff looks like. So Nancy Asman has been the typist in the county historian's office. That was a term that I don't think is really relevant today. And we need a person that will do a little bit of research, a little bit of scanning, and all these different things, and eventually be incorporated into the county clerk's recording office. So I'm working on that. And it's a lot of documentation. The first thing I did was ask our county clerks across the state, what do you do about your historian's office? What does that look like? Your staff, your salaries? I gotta say, I've got about 16 responses. I've got them here. I did a little spreadsheet, but there's no common thread at all. At one county said they appointed the county clerk, the historian, which is basically not even heard of. I mean, that is a really bad, I think, a bad model. But there's no perfect model, and I think we have to have it fit our needs, and especially if we're going to have 3 departments all melded into one, I think it's going to be a very specific thing. So I'll keep you up to date. I'll probably torture Diane Ferris and just do my best. So.
Questions for Sue regarding her report?
Just a
Yes, ma'am.
comment. I'm thrilled to hear about the work coming out of the historian's office. I mean, I think we all feel like we do live in the most historic county. You know, very subjectively, understandably, but it's great to hear that it gets utilized and
Yeah,
there's that kind of talent to assist people with the research.
it's incredible. And, you know, we do a lot of partnering with Seymour Library, and we also have volunteers. So we get a lot of work out of people, and there's just a lot to do. We've never really had a person who focuses in on cataloging. That is very, very important. So that's another thing, every county historian definitely has a different kind of focus or a different strength. So we'd like maybe the person that might replace Nancy, maybe be somebody that might think about being a future county historian and maybe having some continuity. That's just an idea.
Mr.
I
Chair.
want to congratulate you and your staff on this Gift for Life. I mean, it's very, very impressive.
I know.
We're not only one of the top in the state, we're one of the top in the country.
Yeah.
So congratulations. It means a
Well,
lot.
my staff, I mean, they're not here, but you know how I feel about it. And
Mhm.
they have fun doing it. And it's been a lot of years doing it. So I'm very proud of it.
Great job.
Okay, further questions regarding the report? Okay, hearing none. So you have one resolution. I think it's fairly straightforward, so I'll just take a motion in a second for discussion. Motion? Second. Okay, Sue, would you like to explain a little bit about this?
We're just, someone retired and we're filling that position, and then another person just left, and I'll be doing the same thing. Then another person left. So I've got some resolution, 2 more resolutions that are gonna look like that, but except for the historians, that will be a little bit different because we'll have to go through another process.
So it's a fill due to a retirement, correct? Questions? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Sue. All right, so now I think we go to Kevin Swab with veterans. He was on, I do believe, wasn't he? Yes.
Yeah, I'm on. I have to make sure that yeah, there we go. That's good enough. All right, my report has submitted routine actions with veterans and our transportation to VA Medical Center continue ongoing. Very pleased that the Cold War veteran property tax exemption has been enacted. So we're kind of letting this tax season roll a little bit, but into the future, we will be highlighting that to veterans who are eligible for that property tax exemption. We're continuing to participate in ETS sponsorship. This hasn't been quite as robust as we would hope. I've had one sponsor and they weren't even within Cayuga County. I was just trying out to see how young veterans coming out, we might be able to help them. So, but we're going to continue. It also, the part of the ETS sponsorship that we have been using is it also has a peer-to-peer mentorship training aspect to it. And so it's been a good partnership, and it's also, we partner with other counties in this as well. Working with the Joseph Dwyer peer-to-peer program funding, the Veterans Appreciation Fishing in Fairhaven in June, that's pretty much a self-run program up there, but we're trying to tie in to help them and also identify veterans who could be getting benefits. We're trying to find different activities for veterans. We're working on getting some doubles days tickets for veterans. looking for other things where we can, tie into veterans and their families to get connected. It's really the challenge is to make the connection to the veteran, get their information, ask them questions about what benefits they're getting, and then tie them to benefits that they're not getting. And we're finding many are eligible for compensation claims. We talk about the property tax exemption and some of the other benefits they could be. So making that contact and using these incentives is very important. The Wall That Heals is a 3/4 scale replica of the Vietnam Veteran Memorial. It's coming to Auburn 13 to 17 September. It's going to be at Falcon Park. We are working very closely with the Vietnam veterans who are bringing that. We're supporting them, working on coordinating volunteers and just get that thing going. I see this as a focus event for veterans in Cayuga County. It's also going to bring people from outside the county to come as well. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future as we iron out more of the details. Memorial Day coming up. We plan on having representatives in Fairhaven, Weedsport, Auburn, and trying to get someone down in Moravia. But we want to have that presence at these events. As I said, that one-on-one, hey, thank you for your service, and then talk about what benefits they get and what they could be getting is what I'm finding is most effective when dealing with veterans. The Fresh Connect Farmers Market coupons. I just went through training on that on Monday. Last year, we gave out to 100 veterans $20 worth of Fresh Connect coupons. That was our first year doing that. So we were kind of, figuring out as we went. The state just upped that amount to $50 per veteran in farmers market coupons. I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. So our intent is to get our initial batch in, distribute those, and then go to get more so we can support our veterans and our farmers markets in Cayuga County. One thing that has come up that's not on the report is that they're going to be doing some construction on our building. So I'm using that as an opportunity to exercise our COOP plan, our contingency operations, and work out of other locations. And so the plan is we are going to go visit other entities, towns and villages, whoever will have us. We'll go out there and be able to, veterans can come to us closer to home. We should have the farmers market coupons by then, and we'll be able to talk about veteran benefits closer to home as well. So I think that it will build relationships, if nothing else, and reach out. Pending your questions, that's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Kevin? Trish?
I have a question. Hi, Kevin, this is Trish.
Hi.
Just with regard to those farmers market coupons, do all the farmers markets in the county accept those, or does it go by the vendor? How does that work?
So it really goes by the vendor. If the vendor accepts the coupons, they should have a sign on their booth saying that we accept Fresh Connect. Like in general, the Auburn farmers market accepts them. I'm not so sure about Owasco. Owens Orchards accepts them. So there are various locations that do and some that don't, but that should be pretty well marked around the county.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Kev. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, any further business? I think that's everybody. So any further business to come before the committee? Hearing none, I'll entertain the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Planning will start 10 after.
Another one in the books.
I like that. 2 minutes. All right, Bobby.
Offer to take it involved in a couple more things.
Yeah, man. Nice guy.
And I'm still just, every time I, when my brother's on the school board, actually, so when he came in before the meeting started, I saw him, I'm still just, I don't know when that feeling will go away, and if it stays forever, it's fine, but I'm overjoyed every time I see him now.
Just an FYI, that Chambers is unmuted.
Just my brother.
This is probably all.
It's been a
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just that quick.
Take care.
Mike's good.
Like, maybe start.
Maybe, yeah.
Really nervous.
I know.
I didn't realize that. I got you, looks like a teenager still.
Good luck. No, I know. It's a feeling. It's, yeah.
In a meeting actually in here with Jeff and the staff. Probably. Yeah. And she looked as young as ever.
I don't even.
By the time you get there, yeah.
I know what you.
Hoping to meet up with.
Maybe have a little dinner, little candle lights. Hey, you. How are you, Brian? How's mom or dad? Excuse me.
Good, that's all right.
How's he doing? Now, wasn't he for a little while, but I hear, is he better?
It's a little bit, nothing serious.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of, that he felt better because he went away or something.
Okay.
The way always makes you feel better. Ruba cures a lot.
Never been there, but I hear it cures a lot.
I haven't had either.
All the extension
Someday.
associations. we have-
Tell him I said hi.
All right, I'll send it right now.
Make sure they're signed or something.
6 more months and this heat's gone. And so am I. I'm not really.
Yes. Okay, so I just, that's where I was before this. I was just at a meeting, so I wasn't-
I don't know how long.
I'll go back.
Enough, you gotta come to a regular.
That sounds great. Awesome. Excellent, thank you.
Some straight people.
Excited to hear that. How you doing?
But they'll be changed.
Hello again.
Every night.
Not tomorrow, not tomorrow
I was
night.
gonna say tomorrow,
I'm gonna
no?
be at a baseball game tomorrow
All
night.
right.
Not tomorrow.
It's supposed to be gorgeous.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Fantastic.
Pretty simple. Ready? Great to see you.
Yeah, have everybody stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Followed by a moment of silence for the Finch family. Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have quorum. I have minutes to approve.
Move them. Lucille.
Second for the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Appointments, entertain a motion to bundle, if everybody's okay with that.
Move it. Second.
Second, I have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carried, but that's weak. Mr. Lynch, your report?
Yes, good evening, everybody. You all have my report outlining, I think we're working with 13 municipalities right now on various land use things, and that's in a different category than the water quality work, some of the health department things and so on and so forth. And I can answer any questions on that. What I would like to speak, or anything else in the report, well, what I would like to point out is I circulated some draft recommendations for the local solid waste management plan that we're trying to finalize, but we didn't want to put things in the plan that the legislature was not comfortable with. If I could, I'll just read a couple of passages from here just to give you the gist of it, and then I'll leave you to it. We're sharing the document and the information in it with the legislature in order to receive feedback and approval on our proposed recommendations. Your feedback is an essential part of this planning process as the county legislature approval of the solid waste management plan, when it's done and DEC has reviewed it and everything, is one of the steps that's going to be required in addition to a public meeting and so on. And I would add that the proposed strategies included in our recommendations were selected based off of our own, the department's impression that of what the legislators' expectations were for the solid waste program. And to put it kind of succinctly, not to go in suggesting any major changes or new staff or new money, more or less to keep the program we have and then try to improve the coordination and the education and the resource information that's out there. Doing beyond that would require probably additional staff and so on. I mean, I did get an email from one of the legislators asking about what it would cost if we had a county landfill that was just for county residents, and we put together some numbers and shared them. It was kind of, I thought, wow, that would be a big step to take for the county. You don't have to provide me any feedback this evening. I know this is just the committee meeting, but the recommendations are on the last few pages. On the one side, it says, this is what we're doing now. And on the other side is like, this is what we would add. And again, it really doesn't require any new staff. It probably will require taking the person that is taking part of his time and putting it to this program to just expand that time a little bit, but not hiring anybody new and so on. So I'll leave you with that. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know how you want to do the meeting tonight. I do have the two resolutions as well. So I'll leave it at that and see if there's any questions, I guess, Mr. Chair.
Any questions on the report?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for sending that solid waste plan, and I apologize because I've not had a chance to read it, but I definitely plan to, and I'll give you feedback. What is the time frame for that?
If we're trying to stay on schedule, we would like to have feedback if possible from in May from the legislators.
Okay.
And the way I would like to put it is, if we don't hear from you, those are the recommendations we'll put in, and we'll move forward, and that's what'll be in the draft that you end up seeing in front of you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Any more for Steve? We'll jump to the resolution, Steve?
Yes, sir. The first one, PL1, is a very routine resolution. It's the annual inclusion of parcels in the ag district. This says that will be lead agency, the legislature, the required seeker review, and sets a date for the public hearing, which is also required, which will be next month.
Entertain a motion to move. Questions?
I'll make motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions? Any comments for Steve? All good? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There.
Yes, PL2 is sort of a revision of the April resolution with regard to water quality monitoring on Owasco Lake. Let me also share with you that this is just for data collection. This is not for the creation of the reports that you have seen in the past from Dr. Halfman. We may look at doing an RFP for the analysis of the buoy data and other data later in the year. But this is really just putting a scientific instrument in the water and collecting the information. At the request of the legislature and the committee, we went out with an RFP. We ended up getting 4 responses that said we don't have the capacity to do this. And we get one came back that says we can do it. And they basically said we can do it for the amount of money that's budgeted and that they had in the April resolution.
All right.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion. I'm sorry. I thought. Yes.
You mentioned this is for data collection only. Is that a change in scope from what we had before with like the analysis and evaluation?
That's slightly different, yes. In the past, the Emerson Foundation was providing funding for the buoy itself. With John Halfman, well, two things happened together. One is the Emerson Foundation said, that's the end of our funding for that. You should seek your own funds, maybe through the municipality, et cetera. And with Dr. Halfman leaving, so the buoy used to be paid for separately, and the funding that we usually set aside, which is about the same amount of money, was for the Halfman would use that and some other funds to do the analysis. So right now, we didn't budget for the analysis. It doesn't mean the analysis can't be done, but the analysis doesn't have to happen until the end of the year of data collection anyway. And the analysis should really be beyond just the buoy data. It should be the buoy data and, you know, the tributary sampling and the lakeshore samples and so on and so forth. So there is time to put together a scope of work for that analysis. We likely would have to come back to this body, first certainly to approve a contract to do it, but also probably to fund it. So the funding's been shifted around. I hope I answered your question.
I just do one follow-up. Is the data publicly available from the buoy?
Yes, part of this, there's two parts to this. One is the actual putting the buoy out there and collecting the data, 12 hours and 24-hour data cycles. And the other is taking that data and taking the data from 2015 to 2022, creating a web portal that you can easily kind of click on, and you can click on the data and you can see what the data is yourself.
Great, thanks.
Mark?
I'd like to just mention the fact that, number one, I'll be supporting this resolution. Number two, that myself and Mr. Lynch and Mr. Shea had a meeting today. Steve was very gracious, answered a lot of my questions, but, you know, made me feel a lot more comfortable. So I thank Steve for that. Thank you, sir. And that, and like I said, I will support this resolution.
Any more questions over Jim?
Well, I was solid on doing this, and then you mentioned, now we have nobody to now do an analysis on the data. So we're gonna spend $20,000 to collect data, not knowing how it's gonna be an analysis. That was previously done by somebody else, that portion, and so now it's all falling on the county.
Not necessarily. It can fall on the county. Again, we are comfortable going out with the data because you can't do any analysis without the data. We can make the decision on doing the analysis of the data later in the year, which gives us a little bit more time to sort of put the data set together, to put the scope of work together, you know, what would be analyzed, et cetera. Make sure everybody's good with the scope of work. And then usually that analysis is done between January and March of the following year. So there's time to do that.
I understand there's time to do it. There's just no money allocated for it. So, you know, we're gonna piecemeal it. So before we was $20,000 a year every year for however long it is. Now it's 20 plus is what I'm hearing.
Well, yes, because in the past, there was an outside foundation that was paying for the buoy data.
This is the Wasco Lake.
This is the buoy for Wasco Lake, yes.
And how many communities border Wasco Lake?
Quite a number of communities for Wasco Lake, but it does provide the drinking water for about 45,000 people in the county.
So I'm going to hold my thought on it right now. I'm just trying to understand why the county should be sponsoring this whole thing now when it's a sort of a collective group, just like we wouldn't sponsor paying for a water extension in a particular community because that community should deal with that. When they requested ARPA funds, you know, that's all. I'm just trying to wrap that around my head, how I want to vote.
Is there any chance of getting Emerson back on board?
I can't answer that question.
And of course, as I understand it, they dropped their interest because of this body's last vote.
No, that was already done.
They'd already done.
Last year, had nothing to do with it. I think maybe when they started funding it, there might have been sort of an expectation that will get you started. I also believe that the Emerson Foundation might have paid for the buoy itself, which is approximately, I mean, today, if you went out, it's about $150,000 to buy the buoy.
Any more for Steve? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Evening. I'm going to highlight a few things out of my report this evening. The first thing I would like to say is I attended the first Youth Bureau board meeting. I was very happy to attend that meeting. I'm fortunate to get to work with Heidi and Lydia as part of the board. And it was very refreshing to have two youth members of the board. They were inspiring, knowledgeable. I'm sure Heidi would agree. It was a very productive meeting, lengthy, and I felt like we had a lot to talk about. It was very lengthy. And we're planning to meet again at the end of the month. We have a lot of applications to review for the funds, and it's great to see that everybody seems to have some investment into this board, and I'm happy to be a part of it and happy to work with both you and Lydia and the youth that are on board. And I believe that we're going to see some good movement moving forward with the Youth Bureau. So I'm happy to be a part of that. I did attend the first in-person Future Ready Workforce Innovation Consortium for Micron. That was in Syracuse. That was a couple of weeks ago. That group is essentially a workforce group that incorporates a multi-county collaboration. So there were folks from all the surrounding counties, including myself and another member of my team as well, and also some representation from Cayuga Community College, also from Cayuga County. It was a great meeting. Micron representatives presented to us as a group. They talked about what their vision and mission is for this consortium, which is essentially focusing on Micron ready positions, like Micron direct positions, but also the construction aspect, which is something that this consortium decided to also take on. Originally, the focus was Micron direct, and now it is also on the construction, which are going to be the more the jobs that are going to happen first. So we are focusing on that as well. Yesterday, I'm a part of the joint advisory committee for BOCES, and I was part of the approval process for two of the programs, which were advanced manufacturing construction. So it really correlated with what we're talking about with Micron and the two fields that we're really focusing on in terms of workforce development. Leading into that, we did have our Micron work group that's just Cayuga County. I did give all of the information that we had received in the consortium to the subcommittee. I was very happy to say that in the consortium in Syracuse with the multi-county collaboration, Micron talked about, and Center State CEO talked about what they want from all of the counties is looking at an asset inventory. So the current state of the county that you are in. I'm pleased to report that as part of our work group that Cayuga County has done, the subcommittee, we've already been working on that. So when they asked for that, I was super happy. Kudos to Cayuga County for already being ahead of the game and doing that, where the other counties haven't quite been putting that information together yet. So I'm very happy about that. We did meet Monday. Two folks in the room right here, Stephanie and Mike, are both part of our committee, and we started to look at what is this inventory going to look at. So we're putting together current education and training programs, developing education and training programs, but going one step further to say, what community resources does Cayuga County have? What are our strengths? What is going to draw people to live here? Because if we look at it, there's a shortage of workforce currently in Cayuga County and everywhere. So if we want to build a workforce for Micron, we want to build a workforce for our community now, we have to attract talent. So we have to look at hidden talent. We have to look at bringing in people, because if you bring in people to live in Cayuga County, natural synergy is going to be that they're going to work in Cayuga County and they're going to work in the surrounding counties. So we're really taking this opportunity to come together to focus on not just Micron, as I talk about at every meeting, not just Micron, but it's the current employers and businesses that we have here to address the shortages that they have. And that's something that I feel confident that our team is doing. And also with the Future Ready group, with the multi-county collaboration, I'm seeing positive things and I'm excited to be a part of that. Nucor hosted some assessments in our office, which was great. Part of what we are able to offer to the community is business services. So businesses can come in and they can recruit, they can interview, they can do assessments out of our office. We haven't done a lot of that since COVID. So Nucor did come in, they spent 3 evenings in our office and they did assessment testing for their open positions because they're also facing shortages. Advanced manufacturing positions it's a tough sell for the youth. So that's a lot of what we're focusing on is industry exposure. How do we inspire youth to want to work in advanced manufacturing? So we're happy to help Nucor out with their assessment nights. Summer Youth Employment Program. Summer Youth is a program that we start in May. We have funds that we can spend out from May to September. These are funds through TANF dollars. So this is income-based poverty level funds that we have. My goal is to employ 50 youth this summer, which was also my goal last year. We have over 30 applications so far. I do not see any reason that we would not fill all 50 slots and often have youth waiting. So that has started. Super busy time of year for Cayuga Works with the summer youth program. And we are really moving ahead with that, working with all of the Cayuga County schools. We're getting into every single school in the county, working with the guidance offices to recruit for our youth program. Our adult program, we have more adults in training than we have ever in the past, which is, I'm very happy to say. We have a lot of LPNs in the current BOCES program that will be graduating soon. And we will be sponsoring multiple we usually try to do around 10 LPNs, 10 to 15 this year, with our funds being being plentiful. We will be sponsoring those folks and also seeing an increase in CDL interest. You probably have seen that National Truck Driving School is closing. That will increase the traffic for the training program at BOCES. So I've been talking to BOCES a little bit about how they're going to accommodate that need and also how we can help sponsor, because for NTTS, it was financial aid eligible, and BOCES doesn't have that. So we did talk a little bit about us and our scholarships that we can give to the individuals that want to pursue that. Probably they will be adding on instructors to be able to meet that need, because NTTS is they did train a lot of folks for truck driving. I do say that I really like to see outcomes through BOCES truck driving program. They do a great job with training, and I see that continuing with them adding on more instructors. Their rates of employment after CDL training is very high. So I think that this is going to be a good thing for BOCES. But yeah, so we are losing that local training provider out of Syracuse. I did meet with Mike Miller and his team. That was great. We haven't, even though we report to the same committee, we work together, we've never really had the chance to sit down with him and his team and talk about what we do. Very happy to have you come into the office, and CETA is going to partner with us to promote our services and programs a little bit more and can make some connections with businesses. So working with Mike on getting some information over to him. So that has been also a great new partnership. That is all I have. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Mr. Chair, I got a comment, not a question. I just want to thank Kelly and Steve is here, and Bob and Jen from the city for subcommitting these chairs for the subcommittees. I know it hasn't been easy. I know some people are meeting twice a month. And I appreciate those 4 people very, very much. I want to thank Mike Miller for working hand in hand with all 4 of them, because we are ahead of the rest of them.
We definitely are.
As far as Micron goes. Second, the LPNs, when they graduate, do they have to commit where they go?
Nope. So with the LPNs that we sponsor, any LPNs, whether we sponsor them or they're self-pay through BOCES, they do not have to commit to where they're going to work. They can work wherever they would like to work. There's no commitment. The only commitment there's ever really been with any of the healthcare programs that I'm working with BOCES is if a CNA goes through the health train program, they are committed to working at Loretto. And that's changing a little bit, but when we sponsor someone, we do not require them to work at any particular facility. They can work wherever they would like.
So every hospital's looking for them.
Every
We all know
hospital,
that.
yes,
So there's no commitment because they graduate in our county to work at our hospital. then?
there is not.
Okay,
No, there is not.
thank you.
Brian?
You said the Micron, and the jobs they're initially talking about, is that entry-level jobs that they're talking about where people off the street get the jobs, or are they talking more engineering?
So both, we're talking about a lot of technician positions. What I found really refreshing about Micron is they are open to looking at, like I mentioned, the hidden talent. And when they talk about the hidden talent, they're talking about people coming out of prison, people on public assistance, women, veterans, people that have not been in the workforce for a long time. So they're talking about people that haven't necessarily even been in the job market and looking at those folks even to bring them in. They're looking at technician positions, not necessarily advanced higher level positions. And of course they will be, but they're also looking at technician positions. Yes.
Anything else for Kelly?
Kelly, when you mentioned that we will sponsor the LPN, does that mean we're paying for those slots?
For that, yes. So
Is it 10 slots that we pay for?
we don't pay for slots. We do not do it that way. So we pay for individuals. There are some other areas that will pay for slots, and if those slots aren't filled, then they're not filled. Where we sponsor individual people and they have to be Cayuga County residents, our grant through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act will pay for those folks to go to school. So we, right now, due to the integrity of the funds, we limited at $6,000. Right now, the LPN program is about $11,000, but with financial aid, often we can cover the full tuition. So there is no hardship for the student. And then we call it a scholarship and we pay for it. There's no responsibility to pay it back to us if they don't succeed or they drop out for whatever reason. They're not required to pay any of that money back. It's truly us to sponsor them.
And then as a follow-up, does your department follow through with them with job applications and support?
We do. So we do that with youth and we do that with the adults. So we can sponsor youth in training and we can sponsor adults. Theoretically, we follow along with them for 2 years due to the reporting measures of our grant. We have to report out unemployment outcomes. And then I have to meet so many measures. So of course we need to make good decisions and go through an assessment when we do choose to sponsor someone because our funds are based on our outcomes, but we provide case management while they're in the training. We meet with them. We do a resume interviewing, techniques, all of that with whoever we sponsor as part of our program.
Trish, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could speak to where our community is at with adult education in, say, the trades, specifically with BOCES, career and technical education. I know in the past there's been those slots fill up with high school students and then the adults aren't able to get into, say, heavy machinery, construction, things like that. And is that part of your asset inventory? Yes. And can you speak to that a little?
I can, absolutely, Trish. And actually, so this is something that I spoke with Dr. Brian Hartwell about this on Monday in our Micron meeting. With a little bit of a different view on the high school program for opening up for our adults. So I will say that there's a shortage of adult programs through BOCES here locally. A lot of our folks that come in end up going to OCM BOCES because we don't have welding for adults. We have it for the high school program. If there are slots, how the CTE program works, and I hate to speak too much on on BOCES program, but I will say from my experience is it does fill up with the high school students. If there are slots available, we have paid for adults to go through the high school program. there are some concerns with having adults mixed in with youth, right? So I understand that. So that's something that BOCES kind of looks at in terms of allowing adults to join into the high school program. I completely understand that. From my standpoint is then there's a gap that we identify as there is a lack of adult training programs in the trades specifically, because these programs are filling up and there's a need for adults. And if you think about our major significant barriers for adults in employment would be what? Daycare, transportation, and mental health crisis. Those are the three that I identify as significant barriers. So if we're talking about transportation as a barrier and our folks our job seekers are traveling to Syracuse, it's a hardship and it's not easy. So that is something that we are talking about, we have talked about with the training providers here locally, but that is something that came up. And yesterday at the Joint Advisory Committee with the two programs up for review, the construction program and the advanced manufacturing, I did ask if I could meet with the instructors, and we were kind of talking about, of course, I was talking about youth really and getting an interest because of Micron and the advanced manufacturing and construction. That was my focus. But also, how do we open up opportunities for the adults in the same programs that we're offering to the youth? Because
I'd love to see a funding proposal or something. This is so important, especially with the hidden talent we're talking about, those adults that maybe haven't been part of the workforce or have significant barriers.
Right.
And we have these job opportunities opening up that could be accessed. They're great jobs. And that my second question with that is, to what extent are the unions involved in some of these workforce discussions?
They are, and they will be. I know that we talked about that at the Micron Future Ready Consortium out of Syracuse, and they will be a part of it. I know that BOCES, in terms of their technical programs, the unions are part of it. So I think there is a lot of collaboration between the unions and between Micron and Center State and our BOCES. I do see that there's a lot of collaboration with the unions. One thing I will say though about this asset inventory. So Micron, the Micron representatives really talked about capturing the current state of the counties that we are in. And as a part of that, we are creating this tool, and it's kind of growing. So I'm looking at it as a tool for not just Micron, but also for employers, job seekers, and agencies, because each tab in our tool is going to have resources that I think will be handy, because it'll instead of having to search for this information, it's kind of going to be like a workforce tool. I'm very excited about it. Just spoke with Karen because, like I said, if we can draw talent here, if we can draw someone to live here, they're going to work here. So how do we do that? How do we attract? And Karen's been nice enough to come, and she's going to present to the Micron, to our work group, our Cayuga County work group, in the next couple of months, and that we're going to add that to our inventory. So very excited about the inventory. Once we have a better draft, I would be more than willing to share that with this group or the full ledge or whatever anyone would like me to do.
Lovely. I don't want to wear you out, Kelly.
No, it's okay.
But one last question.
Sure.
When is you going to move? You're going to move your office? Are they renovating?
Yes, thank you. That's on my report too. I should highlight that. Dan Welch and myself met with the college, and we took a tour of the new Workforce Development Center. It definitely, renovations are moving along. So it was nice to go in and get a vision of what it's going to look like versus just on paper. It is moving along faster than I anticipated. Been working closely with Brittany, thank you, and Fred, because we are in the process of lease negotiations for our current space, probably working on that, but it's very difficult to work with the Department of Labor, right? And even with who would have thought, but with the leases and the lease negotiations, because they are a subtenant of county employment and training, working with them, it takes a lot of time to put this information together and obtain signatures. So Fred and Brittany have been super helpful to me. It's my first time really going through lease negotiations with the Department of Labor. So we are working closely with the attorney's office, and things are moving along. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Jim, did you have a question?
No, she's worn out.
No, I'm good.
I appreciate it.
I just,
Thank you.
yes, I want to thank you for everything you do. And also, out of all of us, I think Kelly probably has the most difficult challenge ahead of her in regards to micron opportunities. So in saying that, I'd like just to make the legislature aware that anything you need from us, we would be happy to support you. Getting talent here is a huge challenge. So thank you for what you're doing, and I think you do a great job. So thank you very much.
Any help from the Department of Labor?
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Cal.
Thank you.
Don't answer that.
Ms. Don Miller?
Evening, everyone. It's a hard act to follow there. So I believe everyone has my report here, but I'll go over the highlights. Over this last month, I'll go through the specific location breakdown. Is our assistants, 7 in Auburn, 3 in Aurelius, 1 in Brutus, 1 in Fleming, 2 in Moravia, 1 in Owasco, 1 in Sterling. Our total businesses assisted to date are 33, with 42 businesses, small businesses and entrepreneurs assisted as well. Very pleased to announce that the sewer project bid process has been awarded for our lowest bidder as of April 28th. The anticipated start date of the project is over the next month here, as we're looking to firm up the contract with that company whom it was awarded to here. So this is a longstanding project I've spoken to about a number of times, but this is a very, very good step forward for us on that there. As many of you in here probably know, we've been working with our partners, a number of legislators and others, on the second round of the county small business COVID grant here. We are accepting applications at our office now through June 12th. If you need any materials for it, it's on our website directly. If not, if you're having any trouble with it, or a constituent in your district is having an issue, we can send out a mail copy if necessary, if somebody's having an issue there. So please get the word out on that. We're trying to push that out as much as possible here. As briefly mentioned at the last planning committee meeting here, is our team went up to Fairhaven in the Sterling area and met with a number of small businesses as well as the local Chamber of Commerce. We're looking to do something very similar over the next couple of weeks down in Moravia as that's set up. It's the way we're terming it is C2C's accounting. So we're trying to make sure we're getting outside of counties as much as possible to meet with these smaller villages, similar to one I'm from, make sure they're aware of the services that Cayuga County provides. In addition to this, Dwyer had brought it up herself, is we're trying to go out and update our information everywhere as best possible. So in local community and municipal offices as well, that it's updated marketing material, contact information, folks in those offices know who they're speaking to and they've got the right information. As Sue Dwyer also mentioned, with all these DBAs, she kindly shares that information with us. And what we're actually preparing ourselves to do is to send out just some welcome information to these businesses filing in Cayuga County. So they have some material to start off of this local free resource that is CETA. So we're grateful for her help on that as well. Kelly pointed out that we got a chance to meet with her in Beth Bentley. And also, just the two of you then, but we also got a tour of the office to discuss those partner opportunities there. And obviously what Kelly and her team does is a great resource for Cayuga County, and the number of businesses we meet with would do quite well to know of Kelly's offerings at her office, as well as the many other departments and agencies there in Cayuga County. For both IDAs, we're working through the pipeline of activity. We do have several applicants going through the process right now, but as typical, it's a bit of a process going back and forth, dealing with some ranging timelines for all of those areas there. But I'll be happy to share it once we're able to publicly share some more of these projects here. I did note in my report there that we do have 3 solar projects in particular right now that are being evaluated in our analysis. One is in the town of Ledyard, and another Scipio, and another in Moravia. Those are all the active ones that we're working through right now. As you certainly read about in the paper, cannabis company known as Terrapin declined to close on their option for a parcel owned by the Auburn IDA over in the tech park. And the reasons for that had nothing to do with Auburn, Cayuga County, or Ada. It was simply their frustration with the state and the lack of direction. And unlike a lot of some of the bad actors that have been getting a little press here, they were very, very committed to following the letter of the law, but the size of their operation couldn't wait around any longer. But while that seems disappointing, it has opened that parcel up for attraction opportunities. We certainly have the attention on us right now. So that I am happy to say is good on our end. From the Cayuga IDA perspective, we are, as I've mentioned in prior meetings as well, actively seeking new sites for development here. And this is not small site development, 10, 20 acres. It's much larger, 50 plus acres for development. As I've mentioned in the past, working with Steve Lynch's office has been a great assistance to us as we're looking at any one particular site, its proximity to major highways, water and sewer infrastructure, all of that is really what goes into site development and attraction for commercial development. A couple of other items here. Maureen Racer and I will be attending the annual Economic Development Conference being held in Cooperstown later this month. This is the Economic Development Conference for New York State. It's the annual one. It's a great opportunity for networking, and with all the attention that is in the central New York region here right now, we're anticipating we're going to have a lot of good conversations there, and hopefully promoting all of the great assets and things that Cayuga County is doing at this very moment. I'm looking forward to that and sharing with this committee next month on that. Our site selection committee and our energy committee will be meeting tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to go over some synergies and really get up to date on what the other might be able to partner on in particular here. So grateful for both Legislator Che and Mr. Lynch here for helping set that up. I believe it'll be a good meeting. Last thing here, I'm not sure if this made it out into the news, but it was on our website. One of our small businesses, Patricia Springer, William Products, has a product she puts out called Perfido. It's this really interesting product and company she put together during the pandemic, of all things. She's originally from Brazil, and it's an ingredient company here, and it's very, very unique. It's probably the best way to put it. She already has her product out in Wegmans. She contacted our office, and we helped set her up with the SBDC, one of our closest partners here. And over the last couple of weeks, she was awarded the Small Business of the Year for Cayuga County, which is a great recognition for one of our small local businesses right here in Cayuga County. So I just wanted to recognize her and bring that to your attention as well. So I'll pause here. Chair?
Yeah, just a comment. Are you going to the Akasaki down there, the big hotel? Is that where your meeting is?
Yeah, it filled up so fast, I had to find somewhere else.
Really?
Yeah.
My brother was superintendent of Cooperstown for 30 years, and that's a
So
hell of a place down there.
I will selfishly say the chance to go see the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm not going to put that down. So.
Just wondering where you were staying there, where you're going.
City Strong?
Mr. Miller, I heard you speak about solar projects, 3 of them. I guess my question would be, do you know if any of that energy is staying locally, or is it all being high wired down to New York City?
Right. So the The one that is being proposed in Moravia in particular is community solar. The other two are quite a bit larger. So it's my understanding that's probably not going to be staying within the local area.
And so if none of the energy is staying in the local area, are we giving these companies a pilot program?
So the way the IDA evaluates these projects, aside from their financial need, as well as what sort of job creation does this put forward as well. So the IDA does scrutinize the solar projects. In particular, our board has made that clear for any solar company coming into the area of what's the exact benefit that you're providing to the community here. And it's really on the onus of those solar companies to truly demonstrate the financial need for the project and what are the job impacts as well. So being a predominantly ag community here, I think a lot of folks here would say you don't want to see ag land, not being used for ag purposes there. So if it's being used for energy development, naturally is that power staying locally. So it's something I could certainly bring up and get a little more information on for some of these other projects in particular.
I'm sure we'll have a chance to speak tomorrow.
Okay.
Any more, Trish?
Yes, hi. I'm very excited to see that you guys are meeting with the Energy Committee and that those conversations are happening. I think that's really important, directly tied into economic development. So hopefully that will continue as you guys move forward. I just wanted to ask you about Terrapin, and I can't recall offhand what the job loss is as a result of them pulling. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So I was a little bit behind on this project here because I came in after the fact, but if the figures I recall were accurate, it was between 150 and 200 jobs that they were looking to employ. And what was unique about their model is they were truly looking to employ disadvantaged workers, those who had been impacted from legislation around marijuana, of all things. So it was really a unique model of how they were looking to employ people to work at the facility they were proposing to build. And it wasn't some of the small shop run of the mill things they were looking to set up. It was larger production. And it's, as I said, it was one of the more unique cannabis companies that I had taken a look at, but not having been here during the initial negotiation and everything else. Just the quick facts is really what I had. Disappointing nonetheless, but understandable from their perspective.
And in terms of the state dragging their feet on standing up this new industry, is there, I guess I'm just curious, do you have a take on that? What is is there a schedule that the state is behind on, or what does that picture look like? 200 jobs is huge, significant loss for Auburn and this is an industry that the voters approved. So I know there's issues with pop-ups and trying to regulate, unlicensed shops, but at the same time, there needs to be effort into standing up the actual industry itself so that we can take advantage of some of these opportunities.
Not for me to say.
Bobby.
Well, I think, and Mike can stop me if I'm wrong, is that these people cannot actually sell in the city. I think they're more suppliers for other areas. I think there's a state law that they can't sell and manufacture in the same area. Is that correct?
I can't speak specifically to that.
I think the state has segregated different pieces.
Yeah, so I think this is more
industry.
of a production.
Yes,
Which
it was production.
that I think that's a big point, because I know everybody has their stigma on the pop-up shops and maybe the dispensaries themselves, even when they are legal. However, this is more like having a factory, it looks like to me.
I was very high on this.
Anything else from
I guess.
Christina?
I just have a follow-up question to kind of what Trish was asking about. So is Terrapin, are they saying absolutely not ever moving forward? Or are they hoping that if maybe down the road, if the state gets their stuff in line, they might come back and consider us if the space is available?
Right, so they terminated the option agreement to purchase that land, so if someone buys it in the meantime, then, that spot is gone. They, however, did say they were very, very pleased with all the effort that Ada, the city of Auburn, and other representatives had put into, really encouraging them to locate within Cayuga County. And they said, as things develop in New York State, hopefully sooner than later, they would be more than willing to reevaluate Auburn again. It was, we had some great comments back from them, and they made it clear it had nothing to do with this community. So back to Trish here.
Just a comment, as you and Maureen are at the EDC conference, I'm sure this will be a topic of discussion. If there's any information you can bring back to us about this, I would appreciate it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Any more from Mr. Miller? No?
Thanks, Mike. Great information. Appreciate it. Okay. Dougie's on the seat. How you doing?
All right, good evening, everybody. You guys got the report, couple highlights. We're glad to see the rain stop finally. We're in field season, and when it rains every day like that, we get a lot of phone calls in our office with drainage problems and flooding and everything like that. And it gets overwhelming, but there's a lot of rain. But it's drying out now. Field season's kicking off. We were able to wrap up a couple good projects. You may have seen the one in the paper with regards to Entenor Road, 1,600 feet of road ditch stabilization. In that project, we were able to go out, survey design, coordinate, get the grant funds, armor it all up, pay 75. Worked with our partners at Owla and the town highway department, delivered the stone. We got a good project done right within, a driver for a golf course, pretty much within of the lake. So we're along close to the shoreline. So it was a great project. Hydro Seeder's been out. I ran out of materials, waiting for some fertilizer to come in. We've been pretty active and pretty busy with that. Emerson Park's already greening up. We got on in there, spread the soils out from where we did the dredging, seeded it down. It's already growing. So it's been a great spring for that. I want to thank everybody that ordered trees from us. It's our tree and shrub sale. We picked them up today. We're distributing them on Friday. So don't forget, if you did order, to swing by, pick them up Friday. We'll be there all day. Don't need an appointment. Just come on in. And then one other thing I was going to highlight, just saw it come through in the email with regards to, I know we're all concerned about water quality. I don't know if everybody gets to see this in terms of how climate and invasive mussels play a role in HABs. It's put on by Extension, Soil and Water District Farm Bureau and USDA of Seneca County. So it's July 10th from 6:30 to 8 in Seneca Falls. Some good information from Dr. Kim Schultz. She's with ESF. So talks about quagga mussels and some of those invasive species that are also found in the lake and how they impact the water quality.
Can you do me a favor? Can you scan that and email it to
You
me?
bet.
I'll email it to everybody.
I'll forward it on to you.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Yep, just want to bring it to everybody's attention.
Yep, thank you.
When those oddball ones come out. Other than that, you guys got the report. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Any questions today?
What about Jim's question? Of weed eater.
Yeah.
We answered that offline.
Okay. all
But
right.
I did talk to Steve over at Alpha Boats, and it's on target. Our other boat, we sent in for a little repair work that's done this week. The other boat, he affirmed it's going to be done by June, so we should be ready to hit the water. I think it's going to be early season, to be honest with you.
Been a long time.
Just a comment that I had a chance to go on the farm tour that was sponsored by, I think it was Partners, and Doug was there and Dan was there speaking about their roles in supporting our local agricultural industry. It was really amazing how sophisticated our ag community is and the best practices that are being implemented. And the work that you guys do is so important. with the conservation practices, helping the farms to control runoff and preserve their soil resources. So I just wanted to say thank you for the work that you guys do. And also that just our dairy industry is just incredible. And I think we're the top in the state now for milk production. I don't know if everybody knows that, but that's a big deal. So
It sure is. Thanks for coming.
yeah, it was fascinating.
A lot of good stuff going on out there at the farms till you get a chance to see it firsthand. It's pretty impressive. We're spoiled because we get to see it all the time. So it's pretty amazing the work that they do.
Thanks, Doug.
All right,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
no problem.
Anything else for Doug?
Thank you, Doug. All right.
Good evening, everyone. Want to start off by just mentioning, I think I've talked about this a couple times, but we have had somebody start in the our community horticulture educator position. Name's Lisa Woodruff. I'll have her here at a meeting in the future, probably after planting season and all that. We're getting flowers in the yard and all that. So Lisa is going to be shared halftime or work halftime here in Cayuga County, halftime in Cortland County. And she'll be working on also developing our Master Gardener program. So if anybody has any interesting ideas for gardening projects in your district, reach out to us and I'll get you connected with Lisa. On April 18th, working with Cornell Pro Dairy, Partners for Healthy Watersheds. We had 50 people in person over at Soil and Water, about 100 online. I do notice there's a little difference in my numbers and Doug's number there, but we had some last minute registrations there. So about 150 people total for a workshop on tile drainage on farms, how that could be managing for water quality and soil health. So I think kind of the two take-home messages is there's more local research that needs to be done, and we're talking to some of our partners on the Cornell campus about that. There's interesting differences even between Vermont and the Minor Institute, which is in northeastern New York, maybe only maybe 30 miles from Lake Champlain, and they're getting different information. And the other take home is that tile drainage is going to be an important tool for farmers as we manage the impacts of climate change. If we want to see things like cover crops, the land, we got to have farmers need a tool to get rid of some of that excess water that we can get from time to time. One other thing I mentioned last month, we've been working with the Sheriff's Department and Farm Bureau on a Share the Road campaign. I have people slow down a little bit, be a little bit more patient around agricultural equipment, horses and buggies. So we got, I think there's 200 of these signs that you'll start seeing throughout the county to carry that message. And then we're working on some stuff for next winter to help educate a little bit some farmers on some things they can do to make the equipment safer, make sure everything's in good repair. Our youth fair this year, this is a little bit of a change. We had to move the weekend and we're moving location. So it'll be August 2nd through 4th at the Union Springs Fire Department. The folks at the fire department out there have been very accommodating so far, are happy to have us out there. So more information, full schedule coming out in probably in another month. One thing too, this is actually a program through National 4-H Council, but they work with Tractor Supply to have a paper clover, what they call a paper clover campaign. So you add $2 or $5 when you check out at Tractor Supply. So anybody who does that at the Auburn store, that money then comes back to us. And we use that to pay for some camp scholarships, trips to either Cornell campus, SUNY Cobleskill, that kind of thing. And that's usually, they do that 1 week in the spring, 1 week in the fall, and between the two of them, we get about $1,500 for that. But that all goes right to getting kids out and giving them some good activities to do. And then it looks like the nutrition section got a little cut off there. So we are restarting some nutrition classes at the developments owned by the Auburn Housing Authority. Those were on pause because of COVID, so we're getting those going again just in the last month here. And then because Kevin brought up the Fresh Connect bucks, the state also increased the amount that SNAP recipients can get with those. So it's for the veterans and folks utilizing SNAP benefits. They up that up to $50. So,
Great.
And we're working right now to find out a good way to get that information out. The one tricky thing with that program is that it is vendor specific and not market specific. But people can also use them at some of the places, Kevin mentioned Owens, some of the other roadside stands will also take them. And that's my report for tonight.
Any questions for Dan? Trish?
Going back to the farmer's market coupons, is there like a list that people can access to know where they can go to spend these coupons?
So there's a list of the farmers markets, both one that the Farmers Market Federation has, and then we have a local list that will be on our new website that's going to be ready next week. But then you do get into the vendor to vendor differential there. And the reason some of the vendors might not decide not to participate in it is they then have to send that into the state and wait for a check to come, which sometimes with the state of New York can be a while.
Dan, I wondered if you had complete freedom to make decisions and were the decision maker, would you have preferred to keep the youth fair at the county property next to the Ag Museum and across from Emerson? How do you feel about that having not worked out and having to look at other options like the fire hall?
Yeah. Our continuing kind of concern or what makes this tricky as compared to my other colleagues in extension is we do not have a county fairgrounds. And there's some opinions out there that the site in next to Ag Museum was never designed to be a fairgrounds, and it's not currently envisioned to be one. So there's some issues there. It's a good site, but we have to have, I think, again, more conversations as a community because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, at least in my mind, to be moving it around, working out of tents. It's difficult. One of the issues with the new building, yes, we're getting new offices, but we're only getting a portion of that building as opposed to having the whole thing. So storing some of the items becomes a challenge for us. The current one is our chicken cages that the kids use for their poultry are all sitting outside. So the Wasco location is good, but we got to move towards looking at where can we hold a fair over the long term. And along with that is that just a fair for the youth, or do we want to have a larger event like they used to do in Weedsport?
Okay, Trish?
Just to follow up on that, are those conversations happening, or how does that start being?
Yeah, that's something, I know, I think I mentioned it last fall, that I was gonna try to get a group together and then things, events, intervene, but we need to probably start having those with some kind of representative group. The agricultural community, which is kind of the basis support for that fair, has some strong feelings about some, both in terms of their desire to make sure that kids have a opportunity to be exposed to agriculture, and opportunity for that next generation to be involved. But also, frankly, as one of the largest economic drivers in the county, they can be a little miffed at times as how they're portrayed in the press by other folks. So that's another tension there that we got to work through.
Nothing better than starting a conversation.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what Trish said, maybe it's just
Yeah,
gotta
we
get
got
started.
to start that and look at the.
From an economic development standpoint, having a county fair that really showcases our ag community would be a driver for people to come here.
Sure.
Yeah, Dan, why don't we do this? I think that's a great idea, what Trish came up with. Absolutely a great idea. Why don't you get together a list of who you think should be at that meeting? Email it to me. I'll have Sarah set up a meeting with that group.
Okay.
Let's start talking.
Okay.
It's a great idea.
Thank you, Chairman.
Great idea, Trish.
Yep.
Won't get done unless we do it.
Right.
You start talking.
Yep.
Sit here till we're blue in the face.
Just ever who you think.
I can yell across the chambers.
Any more questions for Dan? Thank you.
Great job.
Where is it? Let's go.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up. So tourism, what have we been up to? I'm going to start with an action item that I would like to delegate to the legislators, and hopefully you can help us get it to all your constituents. The Cayuga County Tourism Office would like to do a resident sentiment survey. So we want to know what the residents of Cayuga County think about tourism in general. Many of them don't know what I do, what our department does, but they have opinions on tourism and how it impacts their daily lives. This helps us know how to communicate and how to work with the county. And if there's problems, we want to know. If there's negative perceptions in tourism, that's just as important as a pat in the back saying, hey, you're doing a great job, we love you, right? So I have a bunch of beautiful postcards that we get developed in our office. There's a QR code. The QR code will take you to the survey. The survey was developed by an international agency who does this. So it is very vetted. It is very simple. I believe it is between 6 to 10 questions, very high level. And the other thing that we get with this survey is we get to have benchmarks. There's several other counties in New York State that are doing this as well. So we can kind of compare and contrast to see how we're doing compared to other counties and counties throughout the US. So I'll put them on the table. Please grab some. I only have 50 with me today, but we're getting a bunch more of these done, and we're hoping to collaborate with lots of agencies around the county to get them distributed, as well as hopefully offices. Yes.
Will that be accessed on the website too, Karen?
We will also have it on the website. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't write out the long link on there because it's one of those 2,000 character links that you don't want to type it all out.
Right.
But yes, we'll have it on the website, and we can provide the direct link to it.
And will that QR code be on the website?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Karen, can you hand me a pack of that? And what I'll do, everybody, is I'll put it in your drop boxes. So we'll all have one. Okay? Thank you, Karen.
And if you want to have any to distribute in any businesses or doctor's offices or gyms or anything in your area where you know there's a lot of traffic from your residents, just give us a call and we'll mail you a packet.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Maybe this is something we can pass out at the department head meeting too. Do you have more of these?
We're getting a lot more of them done, yes.
When you get some, can you bring me a bunch?
I'd be happy
Thank you.
to.
All right.
I have one more question. Are you gonna be posting that on your social media so we can push that out on our pages?
We probably will, because we have requested that on here. Social media is usually geared towards the visitor, not the resident. So that's why we're kind of having a struggle whether or not it belongs on the social media channels. But we can put a post out so that you can push it out there.
You can push it out to all the communities and municipalities. They can push it out to their businesses and vendors. We can push it out to our chambers and stuff like that. So that's why I was asking if it was ready electronically, because that's the quickest way.
It is the quickest way indeed. Yep. Nope, we'll have it out and get it out to everybody.
Okay.
Other than that, we had this wonderful collateral that was supposed to arrive today in our office, and I was gonna bring it to all of you for, pride in the county. But of course, as deliveries go, it got postponed until tomorrow. So we'll figure out a time and date to bring it to chambers for everybody to have. And I think I've alluded to these in the past. The part of the federal EDA, they had EDA sub-tourism grants, and we were part of 2 different applications. Both applications were awarded. So we will be benefiting from a regional program called the Finger Lakes Outdoors Experience, which highlights the outdoor products around the Finger Lakes region with a specific interest in promoting responsible travel. And that means the traveler, the visitor coming to our area, will be educated on how to help preserve both of our hiking trails as well as the water. So we'll be working with agencies around the Finger Lakes to try to promote the sustainable efforts that they're doing and communicate them to our visitors so they can participate and be part of that. That grant received $750,000 to develop that. And like I said, it'll be at the regional level that I'm part of the lead on. The second one is the Underground Railroad Scenic Byway. And that, I've mentioned that as well before. The Maryland already has the Harry Tubman Underground Scenic Byway that starts in Dorchester County and it continues to Philadelphia. The intent of this project is to bring that from Philadelphia through New York State all the way up to Niagara Falls. We are working in conjunction with Maryland, Philadelphia, and New Jersey to get it done. The Department of Transportation has been one of our biggest supporters in getting this done. So we'll be working on hand with them to develop this to become a scenic byway. From it becoming a scenic byway, we will push it to become an all-American road, which will be fantastic for all of us. Everything else is on the report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
This may be for you and Karen, but is the fishing tournament coming to Union Springs this year?
Yep.
And we gotta really publicize that. I haven't.
When is it?
It's coming up in June. I think it's the second week of June.
How do we get that out there? Because I don't think anybody knows it yet, unless the people are involved.
Yeah, we're starting to reach out now, and I can get you some dates on it, no problem.
Okay, great.
Yep.
And Karen, can you work with Bob on that
Sure
then?
thing. Pass us the information. We'd love to promote it. Several of those fishing tournaments depends on how it's arranged. We will be promoting it to the fishermen interest in participating. Some of them are open and able to for the public to participate in, and others, everything happens out on the water. So it's really hard for the visitor to engage with it. So depending on how it is, we will different venues to get the information out there.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna set it up. I asked to be at a meeting that's coming up with the fishing people. And the last time they were here, there would be a group out, but there would be a group in. They were great interacting with the public, absolutely fantastic. So I don't know if I think that's gonna continue. I don't know how they can do it otherwise because there's so many boats.
Yeah.
But they're great. So I'll let you know though. I'll find out.
Oh, yeah, let me
What the
know. And I
format
believe at that one, we were involved in it. We were part sponsors in it, and we had a table where we participated in distributing information for everybody who was not on the water, the other things to see and do in the area. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, Karen. Great job.
Karen, I see that you're going to do an assessment of charging stations and their availability. At this point, what do you know about the number of charging stations that we have and the need or perceived need as we move ahead with tourism and being a drive-in destination?
I don't know the number off the top of my head. I know there's an app that we've been working with, Livingston Energy. We've been working with them to try to identify the number they are available and the potential for more of them. We've been in touch with the planning department and trying to identify places and how to help support and sponsor these to go out there. They are very important for the future, in the future of tourism. A lot of people are looking to travel with electric car. A lot of people are renting electric vehicles. Car rental agencies are offering more and more electric vehicles, and people decide where to go based on the accessibility of these charging stations. And not only that, downtowns can greatly benefit, especially small urban rural downtowns, because when people are going from point A to point B, they're looking, where can I stop to charge my car? Where can I have lunch? Where can I walk around downtown, do a little shopping, walk around the park while my car is getting charged? So if more of these are available in the rural areas in the county, people will make the decision to go to our county instead of somewhere else.
Trish, did you have a question?
Yeah, that was one of my questions. So I think that's great that that analysis is being done and development in areas where there's gaps or whatever. My second question was about the Harriet Tubman scenic corridor. And has that route been mapped out yet in New York, or is that still under development? Will it go, for instance, to like the Thousand Islands? I know that was part of the area where the slave route, or Route to Freedom went, and so I'm just curious about that.
There is a sketch of a route outlined. Broadly, it goes up the Hudson across 5 and 20. Basically following the Erie Canal up to Niagara Falls. But there are tributaries, so to say, and there's tributaries that go up to the Thousand Islands, up to the Adirondacks. There's others that go to the Southern Tier. There's others that go into Long Island, because there is pivotal product of the Underground Railroad story that goes on there. The interesting thing that we're identifying and trying to figure out, in order to eventually be an All-American road, it has to be a contiguous route from point A to point B. So these tributaries will be part of the corridor management plan. They'll be part of the communication. They'll be part of the interpretation. They'll be part of the website. They'll be part of brochures that can be delivered to the visitor. But for the actual designation, it does have to be one contiguous route.
Any more questions for Karen?
Great job, Karen. Thank you.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Go with.
Second for seal.
Yes. Carried.
God bless you. You're sitting too close to lady.
No.